It's Adrienne Lopez here. How you doing? I'm here for my weekly aha moments with Adrienne. For those of you that might be just seeing me for the first time, I am an integrative healing coach, and that's just a fancy way of saying that I work with my clients, students to bring every aspect of their power and potential, their gifts and their talents back online. There's lots of ways that we um, fragment our personalities. We get disconnected from our true desire. And so I wanted to stop by today and talk to you a little bit about a topic that I just did an interview today with my guest on my podcast, looking at the wounds around money. And this is really a deep conversation, actually. Um, um, I just wanted to let you know that I posted this week's episode on my Facebook page. It's also my YouTube, Mindheart Space YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, I invite you to go check it out. It was really, really good. We dove in deep into the conversation around what money symbolizes, and really, it's our connection to our deepest values and our sense of desire, our sense of self. And sometimes that gets reduced to or shows up in our connection to our finances. And money is a hot button issue for people. Let's just be honest, right? Especially at this time in the world where, um, it's a concern on many levels. Excuse me, in regards to increased inflation, um, people in droves leaving their traditional 9 to 5 jobs, taking on creating, inventing new ways of earning a living that are more in alignment with their value system. And a large part of the shift was, I'm guessing, it correlated with the lockdown and many people working from home, um, really having a shift in perspective about their life and where they're spending it and what they're doing, farming their time off to people for money, and had the opportunity to stop and reflect and think, gosh, is that really what I want to be doing? And so today in my conversation, we were talking about abundance, and that abundance, of course, is way more expansive than our relationship with money. Money is just a symbol that allows us freedom and time. And that's what people are really wanting, freedom and time, right? To do the things that they love with the people that they love. And so um, we looked at um, the sadness and the grief around money and how people reject it for many reasons, reject the flow of abundance coming in. And we talked about this in regards to the psychological and emotional wounds of not getting our basic needs met. And when I say basic, I'm not talking about food and water and shelter. Thank God, you know, that many people in the United States at least have their basic needs met, although less and less with increased homelessness. And so I'm talking about feeling safe, feeling protected, feeling seen and heard, feeling valued, feeling that you matter. Um, and so this shows up as a wound, and the wound is um, in regard to the mother wound and the father wound. And many of us weren't received in a container to be held with the care and um, yeah, I'm going to say the subtlety of awareness around emotional intelligence, being seen as our own unique individual expression of Creator here on this earth. And what happens, right? We get these conditioned sense of selves that are based on people's projections onto us about what they need us to be, what role we need to fulfill for our parent or our families. And there's a level of disassociation and alienation that goes on. And I had spoken about this in last week's episode of Lifting the Veil with my guest, Maitreya Wolf. We talked about the Anana myth. So if you didn't check that out, please do. It's a really powerful myth and metaphor of the descension of the soul into the underworld, which is an important part of our journey. It's a cyclical framework of consciousness and time. And what happened to us is we got put on a linear model of time, and that took our psyche out of the circular, or like, I guess, the construct that we are a whole, right? But right, we are part of a whole web of consciousness on this planet. That's not separate. And what happens when we separate ourselves from that? We get separated from self unconsciously. And the unconscious is represented by that underworld. And the underworld ends up being our unconscious motives and drives that we're not aware of, because we were required to disconnect from them in order to function in this patriarchal model. And this shows up as the father wound. And so whether you're female or male, we both have these energies in our body. But the father wound is that denial of that feminine aspect of ourselves, which is our soul, which is our connection to Creator, which contains our emotions and our feelings and our sense of awe and wonder. And it's not by chance I call these weekly lives that I do AHA, AWE, right? Aha moments. There's something amazing when the mind comes together with the body or the heart, and there's this integration process that happens. That's why I call what I do integrative healing. It's a reconnection between all the aspects of ourselves, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the psychological. All of those aspects are different dimensions of our being. And when they're fractured and disconnected, then we don't have full access to our greatness and our genius. That's, of course, it's there. It's expressed through every individual in their own unique way, in their own unique magic. So hello there. If you stop by, say hi. Let me know that you were here, either if you saw this live or on the replay. So so the money system that we have, that I was sharing about today in my podcast, is a reflection of our value system, is a reflection of our internal disconnection from our own soul self, like our self with a capital S, not the little self that we were given through the cultural constructs of this economically driven society. Not that anything's the matter with money. We need money to live. We use money. We live in a material world. So this isn't bashing money or demonizing money. It's actually coming to terms in a more authentic way with our relationship with money in a healthy way. A lot of people, and especially spiritual people and light workers and people that are in the spiritual community, sometimes have an aversion to money, like it's bad, and there's some shame and some guilt and some self-sabotage around earning a living. And so on the other side of that, right, we have multi-billion, trillion-dollar corporations owning 1% of all the wealth on the planet. So clearly there's something out of balance, and it's not happening out there, it's happening internally. And when then we see it happening out there. And so this is a wonderful opportunity at this time to start healing our own internal relationship with that father wound, which is the internalized patriarchy, the tyrant that disconnects, that imprisons, that denies, rejects that feminine aspect of ourself, which is our connection to spirit, to soul, creator. And as I mentioned, it's that sense of awe that um, we are an expression of creator's moving through us. And so we're in the process of restructuring, regrounding the whole foundation of our values. And this is related to our sense of self. And of course, it's going to show up in the money system. Of course, it's going to show up in all institutions of every kind that we have built, right? It's all bound energy. We are pure energy. And then we created all of these structures, and then we let the structures give us our own being, forgetting that we created these structures and these institutions and money in order to serve us, not to be servants of them. And so there's a flipping of awareness that's happening. And it's scary, it's scary for people. It's uncharted territory. And there's been a lot of fear instilled in people around money, a lack consciousness, not having enough, having to work really hard, having to struggle. All of these internalized stories that keep us disconnected from the fullness of living in our bodies and feeling a sense of deep rooted groundedness in our own resource. Human resource, right? You may have heard of this. If you worked at a corporation, they usually have a department. It's called human resource. And so their job is to manage the asset of the human workforce. And so we don't need some outside department to do that for us, right? We're in the process of waking up to the fullness of who we are, beginning to manage our own resource, realizing its depth and its power, and that it is a natural possession of who we are as human beings, right? Not doers, but beings. So we talked we talked about all of these topics today in my podcast. So if you want to hear more about that, I would invite you to tune in. I posted it here on my Facebook page as well as all my other social media channels. You can check it out. It's called Healing the Wounds Around Money, or the Money Wound, and how that is really related to our basic psychological and emotional needs, feeling cared for, feeling truly supported, that we have a right to belong here on this planet. We don't have to earn our way or justify our existence on this planet through our role or how much money we're earning. And so this is a deep, deep topic, and there's a lot of grief around it. And I've been having lots of conversations with lots of different people in different venues and different modes and mediums about this topic. People that are financial investors, people that are coaches, soul mentors, and everyone is definitely awake to this conversation. They know something's going on. And it really spurred a conversation the other day. Well, actually, for several months now, it's been happening. And it's actually, let's just be honest, longer than several months. This has been multiple generational conversation for me, starting way back in my 20s. It's just now coming to harvest, I guess. And it's around this myth of the handless maiden. And so me and one of my good friends are talking about putting together a like a journey through this story, because it's really a metaphor um, that we are all moving through at this time, which is having this internal relationship with a tyrant. And the tyrant tells us that we have to hustle. It judges us, right? Some people call this the ego, but it's the mark of the wound of separation that's being healed right now. And this story is a beautiful container for that process and making the journey in a conscious way to heal not only ourselves, but consciousness itself. Because each time one of us decides to start doing this healing work, it's not just us, right? It's all the people that came before us. It's generational, it's intergenerational, and it's attached to consciousness. And consciousness is a field, and we're all part of it. So when we do our inner work, it shifts the field of consciousness itself. So in this way, this work's super important. And the more people that are consciously participating in it, the faster the shift is going to happen. And it's not that we're in a hurry. I mean, this has been, it just takes as long as it takes. And, but it's an excitement and a momentum of making a shift in the expansion of how people relate to life, how we get to show up, our relationship to abundance, money being only one aspect of that. So it's a beautiful, like it holds the seed of a beautiful possibility. So that's why I'm excited about it. So I think I'm going to leave it there for today. I just wanted to stop by and share with you an aha moment that I was having this week, and hopefully you were able to touch into little bits here and there that resonated with you. And if you did, I always love to hear about it. You can leave a comment in the comment section, and yeah, let me know. It's just starting to percolate, this conversation about doing an 8-week journey through the handless maiden. It's a myth, it's a story, and it's about empowerment and healing and moving through the grief process of letting go all of the ways that all of these roles that we've taken on in order to be validated, loved, accepted, all these ways that society attempts to pacify you, right, through social status, when in actuality it's never fulfilling, it's never lasting, right? Because the thing that people are really longing for is the authentic level of safety and security that no outside organization or position can give you. It's something that comes from within. So if you stop by today, either if you were here on the live or on the replay, I would love to hear from you. Say hi, leave an emoji, let me know that you were here. And I will be back next week. I have another special guest that I'm interviewing for my podcast. Her name's Angela Love, and she is a awesome, incredible woman doing lots of work with the journey of the goddess. So I'll share with you more about her next week. Until next time, please remember what a valuable treasure you are, and bye for now.